Hi, I'm Adam and welcome back to First Man Photography. Now, have you ever looked at another photographer's work and just been in awe of it, where it is immediately recognisable because of their style and skill? This leaves us wondering, what's my style? How do I get one? And do we even need a style? So in this video, I want to share why style is worth thinking but not worrying about, and what you can do to practically develop your style. Before we get going today though, this video is sponsored by MPB. If you want to buy, sell, or trade your gear, do it with MPB. When we're talking about style, it's very easy to become pretentious and overplay how important it is, because style isn't automatically a good thing. It's very easy to have a shit style. Take my fashion sense, for example. Since I became a full-time photographer, I've worn jeans and a t-shirt almost exclusively because it is a practical and just about presentable style. The risk is that in the pursuit of a style, we completely ignore the substance. And we see this all the time in photography, where a filter or preset has been thrown at a very average image, usually including a person staring wistfully off into the distance, or the classic Highland cow. Occasionally though, if it is very authentic, style can override substance. I'm kind of struggling to think of a photographic example of this, but music is full of them, where a singer might go a bit sharp, or a guitarist, someone like Jimi Hendrix, with a slightly sloppy technique, turns it into something incredible, inspiring, and full of emotion. The title of this video, although these titles are subject to change, is Why Your Photography Has No Style. The truth is it does, because the key here is that the style comes from you and your personality. One definition of style is the way in which something is said, done, expressed, or performed. It's really easy to see how other people do these things, but understanding yourself in this way and how you do things is much harder and requires a high level of self-awareness. It's basically trying to develop a simple philosophy. What is your photography about? What are you trying to convey? Aim for a meaning beyond the technical exercise alone. We're going to talk about the practical things you can use to express your style in a minute, but it's worth remembering you can't not have a style. It may be chaotic, inconsistent, and without cohesion, but that's fine, and especially when you are starting out or exploring new ideas and learning, which really is throughout our photography journey. No one gets to dictate to you or be the gatekeeper to how you, your work, or your style should be. But hopefully by not worrying about style, you'll find a nice photographic rhythm. And if you're being true to yourself, then an authentic and unique style will emerge. So your style begins with you, but then it's about what you actually go and do with the camera. What are you going to photograph? And in what genre? When you start out in photography, I think it's important to try as many different things and genres as you can. But if you do have any desire to be commercially successful, then specializing, at least publicly, will probably be necessary. I never really considered the commercial side of things, but naturally kind of just gravitated towards landscape photography, and that's now pretty much all I do. So let's use that as an example. Within any genre, there are a number of subgenres that can help define a person's style. Some style themselves as woodland photographers or seascape photographers, or someone who spends all their time in the mountains. For some, the style might come from the local area they shoot, and that becomes part of their photographic personality, essentially. And the nice thing is, there is no wrong answer of how to do it. The techniques we use can then form part of our style. Some people have made a career by using intentional camera movement. Macro is a big favorite for a lot of people, and it's always fun exploring long exposure photography. Although this is a trap I fell into for a while, where I mistakenly thought long exposure was my style, and I just used the technique on absolutely everything without really thinking about why I was doing that. And it led to some very average and ultimately meaningless images. As photographers, though, one of the critical factors that I think affects everyone's style is how we control the light. Lighting setups in studios can often become part of the signature of a photographer, but shooting outside and doing landscape photography, it can be much harder because we don't control the sun and the weather. This is why I like shooting locally, though, and revisiting locations, because I know I can plan how I want the light to look, what direction it comes from, and how warm it is by visiting at the right time of year with the sun in the right location at the right time of day and going enough times that I get the best weather. It's why this seasonal collage took me almost 5 years to make. You might be the kind of photographer who only shoots at golden hour, or someone who really loves those moody overcast days with nice diffused light. Or you might like both. Again, don't worry about it. Just do what you love and your style will emerge. Something non-photographers often mistake for style is the processing alone. Like I said, the style comes from inside of you. But these practical things are like the visual language we're using to express ourselves. Post-processing is one of those, as we add it on top of the subject, the light, and the composition that we've captured. Whilst I was doing a talk at the photography show last week, someone asked me, how do I do my post-processing, because they struggle? And my answer was, as quickly as possible. I will generally do an initial edit in Lightroom in about 5 minutes, because I find this is the easiest way to allow my style and my visual personality to come out, basically by not overthinking it. I will usually then go back to it and make some tweaks and perfect the details, but I'm generally going to capture the mood in that quick edit at the start. What I'll then do, if I'm really happy with the edit, is save it as a preset and give it a title based on the type of scene it is. This can then be very useful in future to apply to images made in similar conditions, and you can see a few examples of that here. I like presets, but I would never pay for any. There are starting points for an edit based on my photographic expression. If you want to, though, you can download all of my presets and use them or tweak them for your own images by signing up for a 7-day free trial to the Raw Room, where you can just download them all. That's a service that provides also a library full of tutorial and other types of videos for you to enjoy. Before we look at the most important practical influence on style, as you know, this video is sponsored by MPB. Now, MPB is the world's largest platform to buy, sell, and trade used photography and video kits. I recently decided to sell some of the gear I don't use much anymore, one of which was this Canon 17 to 40mm wide-angle lens. I was sad to see it go, but selling it with MPB was extremely easy and removed all the faff I usually experience when I'm selling gear. I just went on their website, hit the start selling button, typed in what I wanted to sell, and told them the condition I thought it was in. MPB immediately then gave me a quote that I was happy with and provided me with a shipping label so I could send it to them fully insured for free. Alternatively, they'll even come and collect it from you. So I then boxed it up, shipped it to them, and a couple of days later, they received the lens, checked it over, and agreed that it was in the excellent condition that I'd said it was. Then all I had to do was give them my bank details, and a short time later, the money appeared in my account. To be honest, I was blown away by the service, and I'm currently trying to make a number of cutbacks, so I will definitely be using MPB again, possibly even to switch out this Canon C200. So hit the link down below and check out MPB if you want to buy, sell, or trade your photography gear. Probably the thing that draws our attention to a style more than anything else is the colour. And for some photographers, it defines their style. That could be that they do everything in black and white, or they opt for the full sort of overblown, saturated and garish look. But regardless, colour is a powerful tool that can also bring about a cohesion across a series of images and give a consistent look to your work or project. This can partly be brought about in post-processing, where we have significant control over colour. But the most powerful part when we talk about style is the colour grading. In a movie or a photography studio, the colour is carefully planned prior to the shoot very often to give it the stylistic look that the director is looking for, and is often made up of two dominant colours that match well together, such as orange and teal or red and green. This is something I also like to do in my landscape photography. It works particularly well with sunsets where the warm light is striking down onto the land, and then by using the colour grading to drag a bluish teal colour into the shadows, it gives that very pleasing orange and teal look to the image. The colour grading is a brilliant and exciting tool to play around with, but it's just one part of the photographic or artistic language that we use. I made this video a few months ago that introduces the artistic elements, one of which is colour, but how we use the artistic elements plays a massive part in how our style develops. Some of the elements, like shape and form, we deal with in camera, but others, like value, we can manage in post-processing, where we can use brightness to direct attention to the most important areas of our image. I go through all 7 in the video, so make sure you check that out at the end of this one. One area that is often overlooked as forming part of our photographic style is how you present your work. This starts with the very basics of what aspect ratio we use. Are you cropping everything to a square? Are you solely doing panoramas? Do you stick to the 3:2 aspect ratio of your camera? It can all play a part. There is a certain style to how I present my work here on the wall. In the studio, I like the kind of collage approach because it brings about a practical, functional, and creative atmosphere with no fuss that I need in order to encourage me to go out and take pictures and make these videos every week. It also wouldn't be a First Man video without me encouraging you to print your own photos. But how big will you make them? How glossy will the paper be? Will you put them in a frame or mount them on a board? These things are all part of what make up your style. I love a traditionally framed print like this, but I have a project in the works at the moment where I'm planning an exhibition at the end of it, and I intend for the presentation to feel much more modern with the use of things like metals and acrylics. If you ever make a photo book, then you will be forced to think about style. How will the images flow from page to page? How will you lay it out? I decided with my book that although it would be filled with some very nice images, I also wanted to do something unique and tell the story of my time in the police in London and how all those extremely challenging events developed into the philosophy I now use to create my images and to talk to you on these videos. So please do hit the link down below and check out my book, Illumination. Remember though, it's not just one of these things that define your style. It's how you use them all to express yourself visually. It's not going to happen straight away either. It will develop over years of hard work, repeatedly making images and then putting them out into the world for all to see. And then it will be that next generation of photographer looking at your work in awe, wondering how they can achieve an incredible style like yours. So that's how I feel about style. Let me know what you think down in the comments, or click this video here to check out how to print your own work, or click this one here for an outdoor landscape photography adventure, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.